Greetings. This episode is a seminar by Marios Kremantzis, a lecturer in business analytics at the University of Bristol. Marios talks about a radical innovation, using AI chatbots as tutors for students studying prescriptive analytics and mathematics for economists. Our hosts are Anabela de Silva Soares and Christina Phillips.
I will pass to Christina, our chair of BAEF, to introduce our guest speaker today.
Thank you, Anabela. So thanks everybody for coming to what I think is probably going to be a really, really interesting session today in the Business Analytics Educators Forum. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, please do, because then we can inform you about future events. And we also have a blog, which I will stick the link to in the chat at some point. But I think most of you are actually members of the LinkedIn pages, so you know where all of that is. So Marios is very kindly joining us today. I met Marios because he started working with the OR Society, running their education SIG for OR and analytics, which has been absolutely wonderful and is a brilliant sister organisation to this one. I think it complements it really nicely. Marios is also one of our founding members, and he helps us to run our LinkedIn pages, which is really nice of him. This subject is absolutely fascinating, and he's becoming quite an expert at it. So I'm really looking forward to hearing this talk. So I'm not going to carry on talking any longer. I'm going to hand over to Marios. One thing I would say before I shut up is, if you think of any questions while we're going, could you please pop them in the chat? And then at the end, I can curate that, and then you can come and ask your questions personally to Marios. Thank you. Over to you, Marios.
Thank you so much, Christina. Thank you so much, Anabela. And thanks everyone for attending, for joining this session at this time, which is actually the end of the week. I know that you might have also been relatively busy with other stuff, a bit tired perhaps because it's the end of the week. Thank you once again for that, for joining. Let me briefly introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. So my name is Marios Kremantzis. I'm a lecturer in business analytics and the program director of the MSc in business analytics at the University of Bristol Business School, which is under the umbrella of the University of Bristol. So I have been, in general, very interested as a researcher towards using applied mathematical optimization tools, particularly prescriptive analytics tools, for solving real-life application problems in different sectors like in agriculture, sports analytics, marketing management, and others. But I have also been quite interested over the last, let's say, 2 years, roughly, over the generative AI and its impact towards, towards the higher education. How generative AI has, for example, affected critical thinking skills of students. How this has affected the way we say formative and summative assessments. And I have also been interested in the AI chatbots. I believe that you all know, at least, you have all heard about the chatbots, and to what extent the chatbots could provide support and engagement to students at all levels in UK higher education. By particularly exploring their impact. And so today I'm going to present to you a collective study that has been conducted along with Dr. Annie Kanesian and Dr. Anthi Hondrogianni from the University of Bristol Business School and the School of Economics of the University of Bristol, respectively. It's a work that we have already presented to the OR66 conference. It is under review in a specific teaching and learning journal. So we have I would say, some good aspirations about where the study is going. And as I was explaining in the very beginning of this session, and I will be referring to that even later, we have even thoughts about expanding this particular project to a larger scale. But let's explore what we have done. So I will start with a couple of introductory details related to the literature, to the relevant literature. So the ongoing digital transformation is having a significant impact on different areas of life, and you realize that from the purpose of this study, this is all about higher education. So universities face the challenge of integrating the technology into the teaching and learning aspects, and the artificial intelligence has been at the center of this particular shift. It has the potential to change how students are supported, how they interact with the learning. And we'll say that AI has a practical use that is becoming even more widespread now. The AI-driven chatbots are automated software tools that simulate conversational conversations between people and computers by using typically a language which is natural to us. So these chatbots could offer various functions, from helping with administrative tasks to supporting learning. Universities particularly consider them, particularly use them as part of a larger, in a way, move towards digitalizing the education, aimed at improving, in a way, the student experience and the learning outcomes, the intended learning outcomes. Previous studies have looked at various aspects of AI in education, showing potentials, challenges in different areas like assessment, critical thinking, personalized learning, administrative tasks. Research on chatbots has shown that chatbots can offer personalized, timely guidance, helping to create an even more inclusive and supportive learning environment. However, there are studies that specifically explore how chatbots impact student engagement and support in higher education. And we can say that existing research highlights the promise of the chatbots, but they also pay attention to the particular challenges, the need for more studies to better understand their effectiveness in academic settings. So our research aims to explore the potential impact of using AI chatbots in education. Our study investigates that impact by showing the accessibility, in a way, that chatbots could offer to course-related support, and how they could foster student engagement in higher education. So we expect to evaluate the performance of chatbots across two separate settings. So I'm referring to School of Economics students and business school students within UK higher education, in order to offer some interesting, some nice, rich insights. So the primary objectives of this research are to evaluate the effectiveness of chatbots in providing course-related support, university-related support, so course and university-related support, to those students who have registered in higher education, and to actually shed light on their perceptions about these interactions. This is a study in which I start with the current state of the AI chatbots in education. So the AI chatbots could be virtual assistants. They could offer a wide range of promising functionalities related to the 24/7 personalized support, and also to their ability to customized learning experience to individual student needs. A key benefit of using chatbots in learning is that they can offer personalized support. So chatbots use smart algorithms, and in such a way they can adapt to every single student's needs by giving tailored feedback, by providing practice tasks, resources, and others. And of course, this is something that could help students so that they could that they should stay more engaged. They should improve the way they remember what they particularly learn. Chatbots are especially helpful for students with different needs, as they offer support outside the regular classroom hours. So they also they could remove even some location or even some time barriers, as they could provide students with the opportunity to access stuff whenever or wherever they want to do. And this is particularly useful, especially even for students with disabilities or students who are coming from different cultural, educational backgrounds. They could answer some common questions, and in this way they can even free up. They could alleviate, let's say, teachers' workload time, giving them the chance to focus more on other personalized interactions with the students. And of course, chatbots can make learning more even fun, more interactive. They can boost student motivation. They can improve learning experience. Of course, I do refer to challenges and limitations. So some researchers have highlighted that chatbots may not be as effective as someone expects them to be, because perhaps they cannot provide, they cannot develop deep understanding or critical thinking skills. There are also concerns that they should reinforce some stereotypes, or that they leave out some certain groups of students. Another thing is that the impersonal nature of chatbots may not exactly meet the emotional needs of all students, and this is because sometimes they lack this empathy. So we expect to be empathetic when we interact with students, and we feel like that this is one of the key characteristics of the human interaction, of the human support, which is not necessarily something that the chatbot could provide. And I do refer here to the example of a paper back to 2023 by Han et al., who argued that when we reduce the face-to-face interaction, this is something that could potentially undermine the critical social aspects of learning. So in our research, we aim to address somehow and to an extent these concerns by exploring how AI chatbots are implemented to complement rather than completely replace the human interactions. As per the case of enhancing engagement through technology, which is the first part of this slide. So adaptive learning platforms, intelligent tutoring systems adjust the content to better match the individual learning styles. And this is something that could lead to higher engagement and even to a deeper understanding. Of course, it's not only about boosting the engagement. It's the thing that this technology plays a key role in improving the accessibility, even by promoting fairness in the education, which is another crucial aspect. And that's why I'm referring to that as well here, apart from the engagement. Of course, there is a risk of over-reliance on technology, which could be a potential barrier in terms of the development of the appropriate critical thinking skills, of the cognitive skills, of the independent learning skills. Some other ethical concerns could be related to data privacy, algorithmic bias, learner autonomy, and social inequalities that really request from us to be quite careful. When implementing AI chatbots in higher education, we also need to consider some other operational challenges, some operational inefficiencies that may occur when, for example, we have created a chatbot using a chatbot provider, and we expect that to work smoothly with the existing educational platform. For example, at the University of Bristol, we consider Blackboard space, but let's say that this is not always the case. We cannot always be in a position to create a chatbot that is compatible with the educational platform that the respective university considers. Of course, there are biases in the data that are used to train chatbots that can result in unfair outcomes that could sometimes even affect particular clusters of students. I'm referring to the race, to gender, to socioeconomic status, to this kind of aspects, and this is something that could potentially undermine equity and inclusivity in education. So it is important, based on what I'm saying in this slide, to diversify training data sets and even apply fairness algorithms to remedy, to an extent, this situation. The acceptance of AI chatbots by faculty and students is also crucial, and this is often influenced by a lack of trust or understanding of AI capabilities. So sometimes in the literature, there are authors who mention significant concerns regarding empathy, regarding cybersecurity. Teachers' acceptance is a thing which is in a way shaped by perceived usefulness, by the ease of use, and we can say that the formal language usage by chatbots could contribute to higher acceptance rates. Our study contributes to this discourse by surveying faculty and student groups to assess acceptance levels, and by also providing training sessions to improve familiarity with specific chatbot functionalities. Now, for this study, we used a chatbot provider that makes it easier to set up these tools by offering ready-made templates, technical support, and building connections that help with the data synchronization. This gave us detailed metrics about how the chatbot was used, including data on student engagement and also the interaction patterns. All of these metrics helped us understand what kind of information students were looking for, when they needed them, giving us insights into the chatbot usage that was used in a specific term, information related to the types of information students searched for, how long they interacted, for example, with a chatbot, and others. You can see that there were two types of chatbots that we created, and these two types of chatbots are related to the level of information provided. So general support and unit-related, unit-specific support information. So the unit-specific support, the unit-related support, includes details typically found in the unit or in the course handbook, like the unit structure, the learning resources, the reading lists, assessment details, formative, summative assessment, links to learning resources, weekly advice and feedback hours, access to textbooks, marks, recordings, the discussion board. So all of these were particular aspects to which a student was having access while exploring the chatbot, and particularly the unit-related support. But of course, students had the chance to also consider the chatbot as part of getting general support, which is the university related support. So for the university related support, students could have been, let's say, interested in getting some information about the disability services, about the personal tutors, about the academic advice, about the health and well-being, the student finance, the study skills. So if someone was particularly interested in finding the right support outside the unit, support related to the university, then they had to select that particular aspect of the chatbot and to ask specific advice related to any of these things. Of course, there were some additional features, like the question answering function that was able to extract information from a predetermined document that was set there to ensure accurate and relevant responses, and also to some domain-specific knowledge that were there in order to minimize what we call as the AI hallucinations. What you see here in this slide is, first of all, the target groups. So we focused on 2 student groups, on 2 student cohorts. First year undergraduate students from the School of Economics and MSc Business Analytics students within the business school. These are postgraduate students. We intentionally selected these 2 particular cohorts. Okay, so first year undergraduates need time to adjust to the university life. You realize that most of them were previously at school or in a college, so it's actually their first time joining the university. So they receive a lot of new information while also trying to manage their coursework and learn about new processes. Okay, so they may have questions, but they don't necessarily know where to find help. For example, for them, it's completely new that they have to start working individually in some cases and independently, or to make more initiatives, or even to work as part of a group towards the successful completion of a project as part of a specific unit. On the other hand, we have the postgraduate students. So students who were mainly international students, not home students, not UK-based students, students who were coming from different academic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, and they have to adapt to a new university system. So university is not, they are not joining university for the first time, but they are joining a new university system for the first time. And this could be something stressful, could be something time-consuming in terms of understanding the new processes, the new values, and this could certainly affect their academic performance, particularly in the first, let's say, semester of the academic year. So if they are unaware of the support which is provided, which is available to them, then they might spend a lot of time, valuable time, trying to find all of these services. And this might mean that they could eventually miss even some important deadlines, and that's something that could potentially impact their success. So at the end of the term, because during the term we were asking students to consider using that chatbot to get help, university-related or course-related help. At the end of the term, students were asked to fill in an online questionnaire. So the questionnaire was available via Microsoft Forms, and the students were provided with detailed explanation of the study aims. And what we did is that we ensured that students were aware that participation was voluntary and anonymous. The focus of the questionnaire was to investigate how familiar students were with the chatbot, the level of their engagement with such a tool, and generally with chatbots. We wanted also to determine if the available support matched students' needs and to identify any gaps. And the collected data gave us the opportunity to examine the impact that AI chatbots have on the student support, on the student satisfaction, and to understand how they can be effectively adopted to meet their needs. So in this slide and onwards, I provide some key findings. For example, here we have some available chatbot metrics provided with some detailed insights into the user engagement, focusing on the key metrics like total number of chats, the type of information that students sought, whether this was general or unit related support, the completion rate reflecting the successful interactions, and others. So there were 299 students. I think that's something that I didn't mention in one of the previous slides, is that as you can see here, there are 191 undergraduates and 108 postgraduate students, and of which 162 interacted with a chatbot, which resulted in over 2,500 messages exchanged. 58% of them were received by the chatbot, 41% of them were received by the students. And 71% of the students, particularly, were looking for unit-related support. So 36% was asking information about the master's unit, which is called modeling analytics, and the 56% about the other unit, the first year undergraduate unit, which is called economic principles. By the way, these were two highly quantitative units. Some of the most common queries that we received by the students, regardless of the unit, were related, as you can imagine, were related to the assignments, the formative and the summative assessments. I mean, even about the deadlines, about the specific objectives that students must successfully satisfy, objectives that may satisfy if there is time, and others. They were also asking information about the learning resources. So in week 3 material, we covered topic X, where to find about this, where to find about the specific lecture, pre-recorded lecture video of week 3 material. And of course, there were students, 29%, that requested generic university-related support, with some of the most popular features being the question answering tool and the study skill support. The majority of the chatbot interactions were deemed successful. What I mean with that is that there was always, let's say, close to the end of a particular message, there was a tool asking for the student's feedback. So the majority of the student of chatbot interactions were deemed successful, although considering the sample, we should be quite cautious with the results. We also received responses from the questionnaire. The questionnaire was released to students over the last 2 weeks of the last autumn term. So you can see that around 28% of the students responded to the questionnaire, and of those, a percentage close to 41% had used the chatbot. 27% of the respondents didn't use the chatbot, and the main reason was that they were unaware about its existence. Although, as I did even explain earlier, we tried to ensure that all students are aware that this chatbot exists, that this chatbot provides university-related, unit-related support. And we did that very clear through the weekly announcements, the course discussion board, even the first week's lectures. The second most common reason for them is that students felt like that they don't really need it. They still want to contact the teaching assistant, the lecturer, the instructor of the unit to get the support that they want, considering that chatbot will not really add to them any value. As for the demographics, 59% of the chatbot users were female, 68% were postgraduate students, and 56% had prior experience with the chatbots. And as per the usage of the chatbot, the usage peaked at the beginning of the term. On this slide, you can see some additional findings about the student perception of the chatbot. So all of the respondents agreed that chatbot was much more time efficient than other communication methods. 91% of the students even partially agreed that chatbots could help resolve their queries. And as per the engagement, 73% reported that chatbots help them engage more with their unit. The average chatbot usage experience rated was 4.18. So on a Likert scale from 1 to 5, the average rating was 4.18, which is positive given the scale of the experiment and the constraints faced due to the copyrights. Within the chatbot interactions, users rated their experience 4.25 out of a 5. As AI becomes more prevalent and students become increasingly accustomed to those tools, we expect that students will become that students will consider chatbots as an essential addition to the support provided by the university. So, as you can see here, 94% of the students would welcome a wider adoption of chatbots in universities, acknowledging them as a power, as an addition, let's say, as an additional value to student support services. Now, this study explores the under-examined role of AI chatbots in enhancing student support systems by even providing administrative, even academic support to specific questions. Chatbots provide timely, accessible, and personalized support, and they could offer an even engaging alternative, let's say, to more static, frequently asked question pages, websites. They can foster a sense of connection, particularly for the online learners, and the integration of chatbots with the course content and the assessment guidelines could improve their effectiveness as as navigational tools, aids, improving access to essential information. There is a positive feedback, as we explored, as I did mention earlier in the previous couple of slides, highlighting the potential for chatbots to scale as effective support tools in the online education, which is something that somehow aligns with recent research on their usefulness and on the student satisfaction. Of course, there are limitations. So limitations could remain the case of handling complex queries, necessitating even a blended approach of AI and human interventions. There are ethical considerations, which is something that I did mention even in one of the first slides of this presentation, related to bias in training data and the reduction of the human interaction. And these are kind of concerns that must be somehow addressed. It is important to address them in order to ensure that the students get this kind of support from the chatbots, while thinking that they are not really robots, okay? Because they come to us, to humans, not only because sometimes we are experts, but because we can be empathetic with them. This is something that is missing, and would like to find a way to improve it. So I'm referring here to some practical implications. So there are practical implications, practical benefits of using AI chatbots in the higher education sector. I'm referring to the case of alleviating the workload. So we could reduce the support team workloads by automating responses to some basic queries. which is something that could allow staff to focus on other complex issues. Some key recommendations for effective chatbot implementation could be, there are different recommendations. So one of them is to embed chatbots with course content and support services by even adopting a blended model that could combine automated responses with a human intervention when it comes to addressing more complex queries. It's also about refining the chatbot algorithms to reduce the biases and to even enhance the emotional intelligence. And finally, the last recommendation is that they can provide an ongoing training. We could provide an ongoing training to students and to staff in order to encourage the acceptance and the effective use of the chatbot tools. So this is one of the last few slides. So I'm referring here again to the case of the use of the chatbots that we created as part of supporting economics and business students. Particularly, I'm referring to 299 participants, provide to them general and university and unit specific information, with 71% of the interactions focusing on the course content, 59% showing that there was a success, a success portion in terms of addressing the inquiries. All the students appreciated, the students who used, of course, the chatbot really found useful the chatbot. They thought that it could, solve their problems in a fast way, in a relatively fast way. And 74% reported this increased engagement with the courses. So the positive outcomes could suggest that chatbots can improve the educational resources, but I should highlight again that we need to be cautious because we also need to consider balancing automation with this empathetic human interaction. Some key issues that we must also consider, other key issues, are the AI hallucinations, the looping, and the spread of incorrect information. So, for example, when it comes to the AI hallucinations, it's, in this chatbot provider that we created, one of the tools was enabling all the participants to do what? To ask for any kind of help. So in this particular aspect, we connected the chatbot provider with ChatGPT. So students had the chance to type in a specific question to get an answer. That answer could have been any answer, and it could have been something that may have looked quite reasonable, but the point is not just to get a reasonable answer, but an answer that reflects the specific unit that they attend, the answer that should reflect a specific university in which they are part, not an answer that may look correct, but may reflect a different university than the one they are currently part of. So that's an example of being particularly careful with the AI hallucinations. And in this last slide, I would say that that research could have some important implications for the higher education. Universities are really encouraged to include chatbots as part of a broader digital strategy. This is actually one of the things that I have consistently tried to persuade the right people within my university on embracing such tools as part of making students' life, better, easier, as part of helping students even as part of doing something that will eventually increase the NSS results. Because we create, a more digitalized environment. So students will really feel like, that this university corresponds to the needs. So by successfully integrating the chatbots, this is something that may require some investment, financial investment, technological investment. And of course, it's important to consider the training, because we have, let's say, the money, we invest, but we also need to train the right people so that they can use it effectively and ethically. Future studies should examine how chatbots impact minority and underrepresented student groups, even by including mature students, to see how these tools can improve their sense of belonging and engagement. We could even develop chatbots with even more advanced features, like offering multilingual support, multilingual capabilities, that could make them even more useful and more effective so that they can properly correspond to the diverse educational needs and settings. So universities can use AI chatbots to create an even more responsive, inclusive and supportive learning environment for all students, either these are UG, PGT, PGR students or prospective applicants who may want to apply and join the respective university. So in this slide, I have just a number of references that we have been considering. I would like to thank you for your kind attention. I hope that everything was clear, but I would be more than happy to get any questions, your thoughts, because we are actually at a stage where we are even trying to improve things, make our research better, or if you have any other ideas on how to expand this to a larger scale, as I did mention in the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marios. That was really interesting.
Thanks, everyone. Nice to see you.
So much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Marios.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. This talk was recorded online on October the 4th, 2024. Don't forget to click follow and share for more.